Hi, I'm Lorie Coates, BCBA and coordinator of the BAIT team.
And I'm Jocelyn Ruiz, BCBA and co-coordinator of the debate team. And we're back with another episode of Bait Debate Topics Worth Tackling. Bait Debate will address simple research-based behavioral practices that will work with individual students or groups of students in school settings. The situations that we'll be talking about will be adapted from what we are hearing and seeing in schools. These are common struggles with students of all abilities, and although they are simple strategies, they will be effective at making your day just a little bit easier. We're excited to share these strategies to make them available to SPED teachers, gen ed teachers, and all other staff working in schools. And don't forget to check us out on Instagram and TikTok at behavior_in_progress. And we're also on YouTube, Facebook, and all of the social media. So check us out, follow us, like us, share us. All right, so Lorie, last episode we talked about tricky tag.
Yes.
Do you have any experiences that relate to this topic, and can you share with us what you learned about
Yes,
that?
absolutely. So we had a student just recently who had eloped, as we use that term, meaning had run away, and gone out to the playground. So she was coming into the classroom and changed her mind and went back out to the playground. And the school team was like, she's just wanting to play. That's all she's wanting. And we don't know how to stop that because how do you stop the play, right? Because all of this play equipment is right there for the student to access. So one of the staff members was really smart and went over and said, "What do you want to play?" And she said, "I didn't get to slide." And so she just wanted to slide. And so the staff member said, "Great, let's do one slide and then we'll go back in the classroom." The student went over, did the slide, went right back into the classroom. It was fantastic. So it was really paying attention to the function of the
Yeah,
behavior.
she wanted access.
She just wanted to one slide.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I, thinking of a school that we worked with last year, we had a student who was eloping out of the classroom, and I was there one day observing while they were in prep. And the student wasn't following along with what the prep teacher was saying, just kind of doing their own thing, wanting to gain attention from the staff in the room.
Right.
And so he goes over to the door and he's like, "I'm gonna go out." And the pair that was working with him, I looked at her because I saw she was heading towards the door. I was like,
Don't do it.
don't go there yet." And she's like, "But if I don't go after him, he's just going to run away further." I'm
Yeah.
like, "No, he won't.
No.
Just stay here. Don't look at him." And inside, I was like, "Please don't run away," because I was kind of questioning
What he's going to do.
what he
Yeah.
was going to do, but the staff turned away and did not give him any attention, and the student just kind of huffed, like, "What? They're not
You're
going to
going to
chase
chase
me?"
me?
Yeah, and so he was just kind of hanging out by the door, and then eventually he saw that nobody was going to go out after him, and so
Right.
he came back inside.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
in that instance, that was an attention maintained behavior, and not giving the attention
Works.
made
Right.
the elopement not happen.
Right. We'll make
Yeah.
it not happen or at least shorten it.
Mm-hmm.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, what's our primary topic for today, Jocelyn?
Today we're going to be talking about beefy breaks.
Oh.
Yeah. So we're talking about when students take too many breaks or are not maybe taking them well.
Right. Right.
So when you hear educators being hesitant about using breaks, what do you see?
What I typically see is that they're worried that the student will take too many breaks or just take breaks when they want to take a break and the teacher can't control when it's happening. So they're really concerned that the student is getting out of things. That's what I hear a lot of, the students getting out of education. There's also a concern that the educator is putting too many restrictions on when breaks can happen and when breaks can't happen, which is really difficult for teachers in their classroom because they are trying to get through the content in the core curriculum. So it is really hard for them to manage that. One of the things that we see as well is the educator deciding what the break looks like. And so then limiting those access to breaks. So the educator will say, well, they just got back from recess, so they don't need a break. when really the student might need a break because recess is a really stimulating activity. And for some of our students, it's like overwhelming and they need a break right after, which does seem a little bit opposite of what you would expect. But teachers have a really hard time of giving an additional break to a student if they've just had some preferred activity.
Yes.
So, how do you set up and teach breaks to students so that it is successful, Joss?
At first, you have to not be afraid to give too many breaks because the student is testing the concept of the breaks and whether you are going to allow them to take breaks. So initially, they're probably going to be taking lots of breaks.
Right.
And they're testing the concept. So once the student learns that when they request breaks, they can go and take a break, then we can start looking at how to spread them so we can start fading the amount of breaks that the student is taking. We don't want to fade though, however, until we see that the student is taking the breaks
Right.
well.
We want to be careful about that.
Yeah. And we also want to have a way for the student to request a break that is appropriate for the classroom and that works for the classroom. So whether this be just raising their hand to ask for a break, maybe the student has a card on their desk where they take that card out and they put it on their desk to let the teacher know that they're going on a break. I've seen it where a student has a card that's two different sides and one side is a break in like the resource room and the other side tells the teacher that the student is taking a break in a different location that would be predetermined before with both the staff and the student.
That would help with elopement, right?
Yeah. We talked about elopement and how students may go to different locations. So that's just a way for teachers to know which location that student might be in. We also want to practice starting and ending breaks. Yeah, I know you always tell the story of the student that you worked with that liked to take breaks in a car seat.
Right.
And your experience was that after the break was done, the student it wasn't taught how to end the break. So the student, once the break was done, was walking around with the car seat on their
attached
back.
to his back.
So,
he taught me some good lessons that day.
Practicing starting and ending those breaks. And then ensuring that those expectations are clear both for during the break and after the break. It's also helpful for staff to know these expectations because sometimes students may want to, if staff don't know the expectations, they might want to play staff a little bit and see what they can get away with. So having those clear expectations is beneficial for everyone, and these can be written, they can be pictures, whatever is helpful for the staff and for the student to understand.
Perfect.
So we talked about fading breaks.
Yes.
How do we fade the amount of breaks or the time of the duration of breaks that the student is taking?
Well, you do a couple of things. So first, if we want to spread out the number a little bit, we spread out how often that we offer the break. So if we're expecting 5 minutes of work and then you get a 1 or 2 minute break, then we just expect 6 minutes of work. So without the student really realizing that you're spreading that part out a little bit, which would help you get more engagement time, because that's really what teachers are looking for, is how do I get the student engaged, and less break time. You can also set limits on the number of breaks. So if you have some students who are taking 10 breaks a day, then you can give them break cards or a punch card or something like that that says you have 9 breaks that you get to take today. And then you can back that off as the student becomes more successful. But you want to start where the student is initially. So I've seen some people where they've been giving students breaks and they're taking 10 breaks a day. And then they say, well, they only get 3. And I think that's a lot to ask from a student who's already been taking, a higher number of breaks. The other thing that you can do is provide choices within the break. So, for instance, you can say to a student, do you want to have a 1 minute break or a 2 minute break? Do you want to have a 3 minute break or a 2 minute break? Letting them pick the time makes them feel a little bit more in control of what's going on. You can also pick the activity of the break. So would you like Play-Doh or would you like the kinetic sand? Would you like the fidget toy or would you like just to sit in the beanbag? So giving them choices of what they do during a break, I think, will help them a lot. How do we help to make breaks more successful for teachers and students? So what do we do for the teachers?
Well, we're trying to reinforce a behavior that's different than the challenging behavior. I'd much rather have a student take 14 breaks than elope out of the classroom 14 times.
Please, yes.
Yes. So we want to try to get the student to communicate what they need or what they want without displaying those challenging behaviors. For teachers, what we can do to help make the breaks work for them better is identifying an appropriate space where that student can take a break so it's not distracting to other students, because I've heard teachers sometimes, if the student takes the break at their desk, they're worried about the other students, wondering why that student can take a
Right.
break and they can't. So finding a space maybe outside of the classroom where the student can take that break, and teaching the student how to come back independently from that break.
Absolutely.
Another thing that teachers might do that could help accommodate some of their scheduling is scheduling the breaks. So having set times where the student can take those breaks. You can also use other staff in the building. So if there's somebody available during some different times and the student likes to take breaks with that staff, using other staff in the building to help
That's a great
ameliorate
idea.
some of that demand from the teacher. And then I mentioned earlier just teaching the expectations. This is helpful for both staff and students, so everybody knows what the expectations are and there's no argument
Right.
or any chance for power struggling, because that's just what the expectation is. And
So if the expectation may be that you pick a fidget toy out of the bin, so we do that, we set the timer, these
Mhm.
are the expectations, and when you're done, the fidget toy goes back in the bin.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and we can practice how that looks. So before
Yeah.
the student takes a break, kind of going through that routine, maybe setting a timer. When the timer goes off, this is where your break stuff is put away. And it's also helpful to have a location. It's also helpful to have a location where the student can put up their stuff after the break, because sometimes they're more likely to comply when
Oh, yeah.
they have a spot where their iPad goes or whatever that item of their break goes, instead of handing it over to staff.
Yeah, that's a big one, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for tuning into this next episode of Bait Debate. We're again excited to have this opportunity to share behavior strategies, and especially enjoyed talking about taking breaks. We hope the information presented was meaningful to you all. And we also have lots more topics that we will be covering throughout the year to keep your educator friends reeled in. Be sure to like and share, and we'll catch you next time.